tell us the importance of making this therapy part of a regular routine, like exercise, dieting, yoga? Can you tell us a little bit more how important that is?
Well, people make regular routines basically for two reasons. One, because they've heard that it's good for them and it's going to make them feel better. So hence, like, well, if I eat a gluten-free diet, if I eat less sugar, if I eat less fats, it's going to help me, it's going to prevent heart attacks or strokes. That's one way. Or if I do exercise, it's going to help in longevity, or it's going to do something for my mood, it's going to, like I said, make me healthier. And then the other way, which is far the more beneficial one, and the one that really makes a difference is because it feels right. It feels good. They can feel how doing this is helping them. They want to do it. So hence, like with dietary things, we know, of course, why do most diets fail? Is because a person is driven by the fact that somebody tells them, yeah, you need to lose the weight, or within themselves, self-judgment, self-criticism, I need to lose this much weight or something. But as we know, most of that returns because there's an underlying disconnection, right? We talk about the disconnection of the two brains, this brain and the gut brain. When they get reconnected, then a person starts to eat out of things that feel good, right? That feels right. And they realize a lot of times they were eating because they were just accommodating for unhealed trauma or stress or unhealed programs that every time they get to a certain place, they get this self-loathing, self-judgment, and they just say, basically, screw it, I'm going to eat no matter what. Even though the doctor may say, listen, Mrs. Jones, you know, you're 300 pounds. The diabetes is so bad, and the peripheral neuropathy, etc., is so bad, and the vascular disease is so bad, we're probably going to have to take your foot off next time. But the underlying program is so strong because it's driven by something else. Unified therapy is designed to take that program out, and so that when a person does eat again, they sense and feel the value of eating something that's wholesome, that's rich, that isn't loaded with a bunch of chemicals, that is grown a certain way. And the amount is different, and they begin to eat that way, and it feels good. Same thing with yoga. People go in and like, God, I heard this is good for me, and it's supposed to help my body and relax. And initially, you know, they may get some benefit, but in the long run, they always end up going back to where they started again because they can't feel. But it's different if you get in yoga and you get in a posture and you do these asanas or postures. And at the end, they always do this thing called shavasana, which is like a corpse pose. You just kind of lay there. But what happens is if you've done it and you've connected, then the shavasana, just laying there, feels amazing. Now, if you're not connected, you won't get that feeling, right? And so you start to feel the difference. But many people do stuff because somebody told them it's the fad, you know, this is what everybody else is doing, I want to fit in. So what we're striving for is a whole different reality, is that across the board we're pretty sure that depending on our experiences, but pretty much, even if you had perfect parents, the world is not a perfect place, and especially for sensitive people. And so there's stressors in our environment, in our schools, all around us that cause us to sort of shut down. The right brain doesn't develop like the left, and the right brain's the ability to sense, to feel the joy in the most simplest things, to get pleasure out of when you eat something, and it's like, wow, this feels so good, and you get satiated, I mean, you get full very quickly, and you can feel that part. If you're doing yoga, you're doing exercise, you're not doing it because, oh my God, I have to do it every day, because otherwise I'm going to get fat, I'm not going to love, my husband's not going to love me, people are going to accept me. And unfortunately, a lot of people I know, especially being in sports medicine and being an Olympic doctor, I saw a lot of people were driven by sports activity as a form of escape, a form of distraction, association. And many, many people that I knew that were, you know, very, very enthusiastic and working out every day, years later, we see their lives end disastrously. They get very sick, and many of them get so depressed that they're unable to function. Or in unfortunately, in many cases, taking their own lives because they don't have the distraction anymore like they used to associate with the physicality. They used to, and they haven't developed a strategy. You know, Unified is about developing a long-term strategy that will stay with you the rest of your life, and then you'll be able to decide what works. It is great to know that you can come to a place where it's safe and secure and they're going to understand you, and it isn't about maintaining the status quo, it's pushing the development, pushing the evolutionary development, and pushing consciousness in human beings. Because when somebody comes in, we're always looking for individuals that can become more conscious, but consciousness can express itself maybe to the highest level. And in that way, those human beings go on to serve humanity the most. They first, of course, begin to heal themselves in many different ways, but as they open up, and we call the higher brain or the frontal cortex opens up, they begin to get infused with many, many ideas and creative endeavors. The compassion develops, and so their life is no longer just about themselves, about their own individual problems and concern. You know, we hear the word ego or narcissist, but basically most human beings end up as narcissists, always concerned about their own individual pains, diseases, problems, until they break free of that. And when they break free of that, and just being in the present, they could be in the present moment without the worry, without the fear. The most wonderful thing happens, and these people literally begin to blossom, and that it becomes contagious, just the way fear or anger or stress can be contagious. We're all aware of that. So we're always looking, that's the bigger goal, is to make more conscious people, so they can infuse that, you know, in the rest of the population. So to answer your question again, absolutely, it's something like you always want to do. I know if I am able to continue, not just in my regular life, but in the office, I've always want to keep growing, evolving, and the process pushes that. It pushes the developmental process. And you know, we have many people that follow individual practices. You know, they may do certain types of meditation. They may follow certain teachers, philosophical or spiritual teachers. They may follow traditional religious practices. I mean, why they're interested is because they do realize that there's maybe something else. They don't know exactly what it is, so they get involved. And so, but it's amazing to me is now we can take those people from all those different areas and not infuse them with any particular methodology or philosophy, but literally give them an opportunity to push the development in their own self. And we say to them, okay, so let's see how good your practice is working, because when we go inside, you're going to have tools to face those dragons and demons. And is the practice you've been doing prepared you for that, right?
Well,
and if it isn't,
a lot of the time, well, it relaxes, it makes me feel good, so...
And that's good. And relaxing, feel good is a good thing. Self-regulation, self-soothing, we take it often for granted, but for the vast majority, maybe of the population, they don't have the ability to self-soothe, right? They don't have the ability to regulate affect or emotions. And unfortunately, as we know, if you talk to most people, they're usually taking something, some type of often prescription or non-prescription, alcohol or something, you know, cannabis or something. What's it saying? If at certain stages in a person's development, they may be necessary, but long term, it doesn't ever go anywhere, and it actually it turns itself around and becomes quite disastrous.
Now, some people also use, like you said earlier, about they exercise extremely, so much that makes them feel better. So is that, there's got to be a balance with that too.
Well, it makes them feel better, but it's still what we call, yes, it does. Just the way if you talk to somebody on Oxycontin, you know, man, that feels me better. One, man, was okay, but 2 or 3 really makes me feel better, you know. And smoking cannabis, and it may be in a legalized state, you know, where there's no legal problem with it, but they notice, wow, now I'm going to the dispensary often, and I'm doing this like 3 times a day to manage,
Mhm.
see? So, and exercise, believe it or not, whenever you see somebody working out every single day, that is a form of distraction, dissociation from dealing what they're really dealing with,
Mhm.
right? So it's a form of creating an infusement of, you know, you can get endorphins, those are drugs, those are opiates, right?
Mhm.
People think, well, endorphins are good. No, no, no. Endorphins are there to block pain so you can do something in survival. So you wouldn't feel tired if you had to catch your prey
Got it.
or get away from the enemy.
Mhm.
So to think that endorphins are there to infuse you, it's with happiness or joy is absolutely wrong. They are, they can be,
Sure, you
but
burn
like
out.
any good medication or drug, if you abuse it, it
Mhm.
becomes a big problem.
Mhm.
So when you see excessive activity, that should be a red flag. Now, yes, it's a way to manage right now. You know, just the way with when you see somebody that's excessively busy or married
Mhm.
to the work. Oh, my husband,
Mhm.
he's married to his job. You
Yeah.
know, we hardly see him. He doesn't spend much time with the kids.
Mhm.
Even when he comes home,
Mhm.
he's always got it on his mind. So is that really a healthy?
Yeah.
Even though, yes, you can produce a lot of
Mhm.
material abundance, a
Yeah.
lot of uh, uh, um, riches, right?
Mhm.
But what I say wealth is the abundance of joy and lightness and health and spirit in all areas of your life. So
Sure.
some people can be extremely wealthy,
Mhm.
but they don't have a lot of material assets, right?
Yeah.
And other people are very rich,
Yeah.
but they don't have
In
wealth.
conclusion,
Conclusion, it's like, so
Okay.
why should I do this, right? And so many people, like I said, may come in because they're an initial
Mm.
crisis. They have a condition that no one else could help them with, and they've heard about, wow, I've heard you help people like myself who are basically on, no one could diagnose it.
Mhm.
Or they have been diagnosed with a condition that is resistant to treatment. Like we talked about pain, we talked about anxiety, we talked about all the depression, we talked about we'll talk about multi-system diseases where many things are going off at the same
Mhm.
time, or what we call comorbid. The beautiful thing is when you regulate the master of systems like the autonomic nervous system and the hypothalamus in the brain, many conditions or all the conditions seem to abate, and then all that energy that's going to pain and suffering goes into elevated consciousness. So
Mm.
in the long run, now for many people they may just want initially, you know what, Jim, I thank you so much, my back is better, my shoulder's better, my anxiety, I'm able to focus, thank you. But then, you know, they'll let it go for a while, and that's fine. But then also they come back, and there may be a new thing, right?
Mhm.
And a new thing, and then they work on that, and then when they go through that, they get more realization, maybe about the very nature of how they're creating pain, right?
Mhm.
And people should always feel like, you know what, there's always a space to come back, right? And there always will be something. But there's other people that come and say, you know what, I'm just going to try to make it a fairly regular thing for myself, you know, because I realize ultimately in the end, nothing is more important than becoming more conscious.
Mhm.
Because as I become more conscious, aging slows way down, disease begins to cease, joy begins to happen, and you know what? Nothing is more important than that.
Mhm.
And so, but you have to understand, human nature is that when we basically get through whatever that is, the struggle or crisis, we generally go back to the what we
That's
normally
right.
do.
That's right.
And just as long as you know that, if you know the inner workings of your mind, you know your ego, there's a few people that really want to grow, and we're looking for those because if they become more conscious, those are the people that are going to change the world for the better, right? And you cannot change everybody. Other people just have to make comfort, and a lot of medicine is about making people comfort, and that's fine.
Mhm.
And you have to leave them where
Sure,
they're at.
sure,
You cannot affect change in all of them.
Yeah.
But there's other people that really are willing to go to a place where very few people have gone before, and thank God that we have the tools to do that.